Hi guys, it's Monday, May 11th, and I'm back with this guy. If you didn't get a chance to check the classroom website, I hope you went and looked. I posted some of your work, if you sent it to me, and also some of the directed drawings we've done in class, including Roz and the otters and Bright Bill. So if you missed any of that, you should go check it out. So I'm going to start reading today on chapter 29, which is called The Aftermath. And remember, this guy. Remember that the last time we read there had been a tornado and Roz had been really badly hurt. And so the aftermath is, remember, what happens after a major event. So the repair shop was going to send a bunch of different robots to kind of help repair the farm. So we're going to kind of see what happens with that, okay? Bennett's going to sit here and listen to us quietly. Right, buddy?
Yeah.
All right. The aftermath. Hilltop Farm was hardly recognizable. Buildings were flattened, equipment was missing, debris was everywhere. The farm had no electricity, and the computer system was down. As Roz picked her way through the rubble, she realized she was off the grid. It would be hours before Mr. Sharif could track her electronic signal again. Was this the moment for her escape? No, Roz couldn't leave the Sharifs, not like this. Instead, she did what she could do to help. The tornado had left behind a winding trail of destruction. Thankfully, it hadn't destroyed everything. The barn was leaning to one side, but it was still standing. Roz forced open the door and found the cows nervously bunched together in a corner. "You're all safe now," said Roz, in her calmest voice. "How is everyone feeling?" The robot was answered by a chorus of moos. "How do you think we feel? I'm a nervous wreck. My whole life flashed before my eyes." The robot raised her hands to quiet the crowd. "I am afraid the tornado destroyed much of the farm, including the milking parlor." The cows gasped. "But my udders are about to burst," cried Tess. "Would you like me to milk you the old-fashioned way?" said Roz. One look at the robot's clampy mechanical hands, and Tess shook her head. "No thanks," she said. "I can wait." "An emergency crew is on its way," Roz explained, "but we cannot be in here while they work. Please follow me." Roz carefully led the herd outside, through the wreckage, and down to the pasture. Some of the fences were missing, and the herding machine was broken, but the cows promised not to wander off, and they began grazing on the wind-blown grass. 3 massive trucks rumbled up the driveway. Doors swung open, and a crew of robot workers climbed out. The lead robot checked in with Roz as the others began unloading supplies from the trucks. Then the crew got down to business. Power tools buzzed, debris was cleared, fences were mended, holes were dug, machines were repaired or replaced, beams and walls and roofs went up, equipment and pipes and wires were installed. Clearly, these robots were designed to work as a team. Here's a picture of those guys coming onto the farm. The Sharifs wandered out back and stood with Roz. They watched as their farm was rebuilt before their very eyes. Several crew members marched over to the house, fixed a hole in the roof, and replaced the shattered windows. Finally, rubble and tools were loaded into the trucks, and the robots fell in line. "Are you satisfied with our work?" said the crew leader. "I am satisfied," said Roz. At those words, the robots climbed back into their trucks and drove away. Hours after it had been devastated by a tornado, Hilltop Farm was better than ever. Chapter 30, The Gift. The children walked into the machine shed past rows of parked farm machines and found Roz tuning up the milk truck. "We got you a gift," said Jad, smiling. The robot felt something like surprise when the boy handed her a box wrapped in silver paper with a big red bow on top. "Can you guess what it is?" said Jaya. Roz started guessing. "A bucket? A rock? A hammer? A turtle? A can of—" Okay, you can stop guessing," said Jaya. "Don't forget to read the card," said Jad. Nestled under the bow was a little card. Roz opened it and read the following words. They were written in Jad's messy handwriting. "Dear Roz, thank you for taking such good care of our farm and our family. We spent all our savings on this gift, so you'd better like it. Love, Jaya and Jad. P.S. Please tell us more stories about the robot on the island as soon as possible." Thank you for that nice card, said Roz, although the handwriting could use some improvement.
I'm gonna put this in the kitchen, okay, Mom?
Okay. Jad rolled his eyes and said, "Open your gift." The robot untied the bow and tore off the paper and lifted the lid from the box. Inside was a tool belt. It was made of dark leather and had a wide strap and different sized pockets for holding different kinds of tools. "We thought this might make your work a little easier," said Jaya. "It's designed specifically for Razum robots," said Jad, "so it should fit perfectly." The children helped Roz put on her new tool belt. Rather than going around the robot's waist like a normal belt, it went diagonally across her torso. Jad looped it over Roz's left shoulder and down around her right hip. Jaya laced the strap through the buckle and tightened it until the tool belt was snug and secure across her chest. "Do you like it?" said Jaya. "I like it very much," said Roz. "Thank you for this lovely gift." The children smiled and hugged the robot. They really seemed to care about her. Roz wondered if they cared enough to help her escape from the farm. One of these days, she would have to risk everything and tell them the truth. For now, however, she did the next best thing. She led Jaya and Jad out to the oak tree and told them another story about the robot on the island. You can see Roz's new tool belt that the children bought her with their savings. Chapter 31, The Campfire. Wood smoke billowed up from the backyard and drifted across the farm. Roz was building a campfire for the Sharifs. In her old life, the robot made fire by cracking special stones together until she got a spark. In her new life, she used a lighter. The family sat around the rippling flames and gazed up at the stars. The dog stretched out on the warm ground. The robot was standing nearby, but her thoughts were far away. Her computer brain was scrolling back through memories of campfires and of stargazing with Brightbill. Fluffy white marshmallows were skewered on the ends of sticks and then roasted above the flames. The children laughed as their marshmallows caught fire. They liked them charred on the outside and gooey on the inside. Their father preferred his evenly browned. When the Sharifs...
Stop talking. I want you to turn on something.
Okay, well, Bennett, can you go help her and then come back? Thank you. This is real life, guys, real life. When the Sharifs weren't stuffing their mouths, they were chattering happily. "That's the space station," said Jaya, pointing to a tiny dot that was slowly moving through the sky. "I can't believe people live there." "Animals live there too," said Jad. "The station has a farm. We should bring our cows up and show those space farmers how it's done." "I think our cows are perfectly content right here on Earth," said Mr. Sharif, "and so am I." Once the marshmallows were gone, Jaya and Jad snuggled up with Oscar, stared into the flames, and asked their father about the old days. But the children were just too cozy to stay awake for too long, so Mr. Sharif spoke to Roz instead. "We made campfires all the time when I was a boy." The man poked the coals with his marshmallow stick, and glowing embers floated into the air. "The whole family would sit around like this telling stories. We had a nice life here, but then my brother and sister moved to the city. My parents got old, and everyone expected me to take over the farm. I couldn't run this place by myself," he went on, "so I hired Jamila. I did the farm work, and she managed the business. We made a good team, and then we fell in love. When Jamila was pregnant with Jad, we bought a few auto machines to help out. Then Jaya showed up, and we bought a few more. If I had known one of those machines would be the death of her..." The farmer's voice trailed off. Roz wanted to know more about Jamila and about Mr. Sharif and about the rest of his family, but a normal robot wouldn't ask personal questions, so she kept her questions to herself and dropped another log on the fire. Helicopter. Alright, so Mr. Sharif has opened up to Roz a little bit about his life before and has talked a little bit about his wife and the kid's mom, who's no longer with them, so maybe we'll find out more about her later in the book. Chapter 32 is the old barn. Long ago, Hilltop Farm was a very different place. The original farmers grew vegetable gardens and fruit orchards, and they raised chickens and sheep and goats. The farm had changed a lot since then, but there were still signs of its past. Low stone walls lined some of the fields, a rusty tractor sat in the weeds, and hidden within a densely wooded grove was the old barn. The old barn hadn't been used in generations. Over the years, trees had quietly grown up around it and moss had spread across its roof. But the barn was still strong and solid, and Roz wanted to take a look inside. But the big barn door screeched along its rails. "Hello?" said the robot, peering into the darkness. "Is anybody here?" A mouse squeaked and scurried out of sight, and then Roz had the barn to herself. She stepped through the doorway and switched on her headlights. The vast interior was crisscrossed with thick wooden beams. Stairways and ramps led up to the lofts and platforms. Lanterns hung from hooks on the walls. Old-fashioned farm equipment lay here and there. The barn still had the faint smell of farm animals, and even though none of them had lived there in ages. A large trunk sat on a work table covered in dust. Roz carefully opened the lid and examined its contents. A collection of farming magazines, a pair of leather gloves, a pencil nub. And then she noticed a small journal. The name Cyrus Sharif was elegantly scrawled across its cover. The pages were filled with his handwritten notes and hand-drawn diagrams about raising livestock and growing crops and building barns, about working the land with the help of strong animals and simple machines. Cyrus Sharif had also jotted down his thoughts about the long history of farming. He believed that the modern world owed its entire existence to ancient farms, when early humans first started growing their food. Those farms were small and primitive, but they supported villages, which became towns, which became cities. The writings were so wise and insightful that Roz read the journal from cover to cover. By the end, she almost felt as if she knew Cyrus Sharif, whoever he was. The journal was a treasure, and she tucked it into a pocket of her tool belt for safekeeping. Who do you think Cyrus Sharif is? Maybe Mr. Sharif? Let's find out. Chapter 33, The Autumn. And we know the autumn is the time when Bright Bill starts his flight, so let's see what happens. Autumn colors were sweeping across farm country. The lush greens of summer faded to reds and browns. Crops were harvested, leaves fell away, and the landscape turned stark and gray. On Hilltop Farm, the cows were grazing on what remained of the pasture grass, while the herding machine hovered nearby. The field machine was preparing the fields for winter. The drone circled the farm several times a day, but there was less to report in autumn. Although Jaya and Jad were busy with school, they always made time for Roz. The children never grew tired of listening to the robot's stories, and they never grew tired of sharing their own. The bees and the mice and the deer and the frogs and the raccoons and the squirrels and the snakes were all getting ready for cold weather. So too were the birds. The owls spruced up their nests, the crows stockpiled acorns, the swallows were still swooping over the farmland, but they would soon be leaving for winter. And any day now, other migratory birds would begin passing through on their long journeys to the south. All right, so we're going to stop there for today. Thanks for hanging in there with all the interruptions. Distance learning's not that easy. But today on your flip grid, because I know a couple of you had asked about why we weren't doing flip grids anymore, so I'll add one in for you. I want you to tell me predictions. Let's do predictions today. Tell me what you think's going to happen. The author's kind of given us a clue that the geese are starting to fly, the birds are starting to migrate. So what do you think is going to happen? Because Roz kind of feels attached to these children now, even though she knows she wants to still escape. So do you think she might meet up with Brightbill? Do you think she'll meet up with another flock of geese? What do you guys think is going to happen next? So tell me in your flip grid, and I can't wait to hear all of your ideas. And I'll see you tomorrow to read chapter 34, which is called The Delighted Geese. Bye guys, have a good day.